That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you could not prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
I'm Cecil, and I hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, that don't sound right, send us a comment. You're one of us. Yeah, so when Wrasslin was real, back when it was Mid-Atlantic, this bear would wrestle in the wrestling league.
So he was a trained wrestler.
He was a trained wrestler, and so he was a Kodiak bear, and he and his trainer... Hey, welcome back to That Don't Sound Right. We're back in the That Don't Sound Right studios tonight in Camel City. Unfortunately, my co-host, co-conspirator is under the weather tonight, but we have a very capable stand-in, listener number one.
Hi, Cecil. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so we got Scott back in the studio, first time in a long time.
But you know, I feel like I'm here every single week because
we feel like you're here every single week.
I listen at home. I sometimes talk back to you at home. I have a long list of things I've been intending to send to the tdsr email address to voice my comments, but maybe some of those can come out tonight.
Yeah, we'll bring them out here tonight. In fact, we'll let you kick off with that.
Well, first of all, I listened with great pleasure to your episode about the soap in the after your trail hike, and I've always liked you, Cecil, but after realizing that we had identical feelings on how to use soap and the reasons for when you would use soap or not use soap,
right?
I felt that much closer to you.
Yeah, so we actually discussed this at church one day, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
But since then, I've discovered something else. I don't think we're the only ones who have the problem with the soap, the
liquid
dispensers,
right? Liquid soap
hotels.
dispensers. Yeah.
I traveled recently, and they've solved the problem.
What's that? How's that?
They had dispensers in the shower, but they were loaded with what seemed to be it's like a family-sized bottle of shampoo or soap that they just turned up, and there was no opening in the top.
Right.
And so there's no worry about contamination.
Right.
Still saving tons of packaging with those little bottles, but so when that family-sized thing's empty, you take it out, throw it away.
I could be okay with that.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, this works.
Yeah, I can be okay with that.
But yeah, we were very similar in our attitudes towards soap.
The only thing about liquid soap, though, is that I don't feel like you can contaminate a bar of soap. Like, I feel like somebody could pour something into liquid soap and then it would just be there, which I don't know what somebody would do.
Yeah.
But...
And I'm with you. You know, if you got contaminated with something, what would you do?
Right.
Wash it off with soap.
You wash it off with soap. Exactly right.
And then your episode on lightning in the shower.
Last week's
episode. As a very young child by my grandmother.
Yes.
That you never take a bath.
Right.
During a storm. If you were taking a bath and it started thundering, she got you out of there.
Yes.
Now, she spoke of having seen, as she called it, a blue streak in the tub one time, which I took to be maybe an arcing of some sort.
Huh.
And I realized she was in an old house, and maybe the way it was grounded or not grounded and the plumbing was done may have, who knows.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's...
A blue streak.
Yeah, blue streak.
What's the expression when people say you're something up a blue streak?
You're talking up a blue streak?
I wonder if it comes from I wonder if blue streak is...
I just took it to be like doing something very fast.
Huh.
Yeah. And I actually believe, so from my education with my grandmother, I actually thought that's why they cleared the pool when it started to storm.
Because of a blue streak?
Well, because of lightning, traveling through the water and electrocuting everybody.
Well, I think that's why.
Well, I actually think it's that and lightning hitting around the deck or something now, probably.
Oh, just hitting anything.
Yeah, because right now they still won't let you swim if it's lightning or thunder.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think there have been other things I've thought of that I did not write down.
Well, I know you find any chemistry question that we come up with entertaining, since I should have a degree in chemistry.
You would think someone with the pharmacological training you've had would.
I've had a lot of chemistry.
Would know a little about chemistry, but I'm always poised to to be stunned whenever chemistry comes up.
Evidently, I've forgotten a lot of chemistry.
Well, yeah, that's understandable.
Right.
Can't remember all that stuff.
So I went back and looked at some of my chemistry textbooks with Camille the other day. I realized
Is that allowed?
to look at textbooks.
Yeah, it's not the internet, so I guess it is.
Yeah, I went back. Yeah, right, right. And I realized I have forgotten a lot of chemistry.
Yeah, you don't use it, you lose it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So something happened last week that I've been waiting to happen.
Oh.
And someone came up to me and said, "Hey, do you have a podcast?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And they said, "Well, someone recommended that I should listen to it." I was like, "Did this person like you?" Or so it made my whole week when somebody said that. I was
Nice.
like,
It's the first time it's happened?
First time it's happened. Someone said, "Yeah, your podcast was recommended to me."
And that brought you joy?
That brought me joy.
Oh, I can arrange for you to be brought joy all the time then. I'll just have people approach you and ask
Approach
you
me and
about
say,
it.
yeah. So I was very happy by that. I was like, wow.
Good.
It didn't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen a lot. Just one time is enough for me to
Sure.
live on
Okay.
for quite some time.
Good, good.
So I do have something that doesn't sound right for this week.
All right, let's hear it.
So I work with a guy who for years has told me a story. And the story is about him wrestling a Kodiak bear in a bar in Greensboro.
Okay.
For $20. He paid $20. His friend actually paid $20 for him to wrestle this bear. And so I heard this story enough that I finally looked it up and found it in a newspaper clipping. And a newspaper did a story on this, and it happened in Greensboro. And there were 4 guys that wrestled this bear, and he was one of them. The 2 of them, I don't know who they were. The third one was a Greensboro hockey player.
Okay.
Evidently, there used to be a minor league.
Yeah,
Okay.
there has been, yeah.
Right. So there was a hockey player, like the goalie or something from this hockey team, and this guy I worked with.
So did this bear, was it part of a traveling act that went from city to city? And
Funny you should ask. So this bear actually wrestled like in the WWE, the old, what was it, WWF? What was when wrestling was real? What was it?
well, I haven't watched wrestling since it was, Mid-Atlantic Championship
Right.
Wrestling
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Back
Okay,
in the day,
back
but
then-
that's a long time ago.
Yeah. So when wrestling was real, back when it was Mid-Atlantic, this bear would wrestle in the wrestling league.
So he was a trained wrestler.
He was a trained wrestler, and so he was a Kodiak bear, and he and his trainer. So, like, you go see wrestling at Dorton Arena in Raleigh, and so the bear and his trainer would come out before the main match, and then the trainer was dressed like a wrestler, and he would wrestle the bear, and it was an opening act.
I see.
So they did this for a while, but then the bear fell on hard times, and so they began traveling the East Coast.
Meaning the bear needed money?
Yeah, the bear
Okay.
and his trainer.
His trainer.
And they would go around to bars, and for $20 you could wrestle the bear.
And
And if you beat him, you'd win 100. But for 20, you could, of course, you never beat the bear. Nobody ever won.
how is it defined? How is winning?
You had to pin the bear. But he's like a 500-pound, 600-pound Kodiak bear. Okay. So they're at this bar in North Carolina, and so his friend pays $20 for him to wrestle the bear. And so the bear doesn't have teeth, I don't think, or claws.
Oh.
But what he would do would kind of wrap you up and lay down, and then
Yeah,
the
you
wrestling
stop.
match was over. Yeah. Okay. So pays $20, wrestles the bear wins. Well, that same night in Greensboro, some animal rights people took exception to what was happening, and they came and seized the bear.
Really? They took you?
They took the bear and took him up to Grandfather Mountain. He lived there for a while.
Really? So this was not a sanctioned...
No. At this point, remember, he's gone from the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, whatever.
Yeah.
Now he's just traveling to
Traveling
bars.
bear
Right,
show.
traveling bear show. So they take him from his owner, got him up at Grandfather Mountain. Then the history gets a little muddled, and he ends up like in Canada, living with this other bear,
This toothless, clawless
this toothless
bear.
clawed bear. The other bear escapes and kills somebody. And then I kind of lose track of him. But this guy, this bear has a Wikipedia page. It's terrible. It's Ted the Terrible.
That's the bear's name?
Ted the Terrible, the wrestling bear.
All right. So, the only thing I knew about this, what this story you just told was when you texted me earlier and said,
Right.
I've got a story about wrestling a bear. And I went a lot of places in my head with it. And I had a lot of thoughts, but I was not prepared for a toothless, clawless bear in a bar.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fascinating. And it truly doesn't sound right,
Right.
but it sounds plausible.
It sounds right, especially. And I really think that may be what's wrong with the world now is that you can't go to a bar anymore and wrestle a bear.
You think that's the problem?
That's probably part of the problem.
Because some animal rights group will take your bear. It seems like that would be a lawsuit today.
Well, this is like the first time in my life that I couldn't tell you someone that owned an exotic animal. Like
Really?
growing up, you always kind of knew somebody. Yeah, somebody's got a tiger. You go down this road and that guy back down that back road's got a tiger he keeps in a cage.
Cecil, you have such a much more interesting life than I've had.
I've-
Because I don't know that I've ever known that.
You've never known
anybody.
I've always known at least one person, and then like over the last 10 years, those kind of guys don't exist anymore. I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the most exotic animal I've ever personally experienced. There was a white, we called it an albino deer that was up at Tweetsy that got loose one time and ran through our yard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then
So up in the mountains, y'all didn't have anybody that had like animals
No.
they shouldn't keep?
no one I knew. I knew a guy that brought a ferret around once. I don't think you were supposed to have had those at the time. There were some restrictions.
Right.
But no, I can't think of any. I'm not saying there weren't. They weren't, kind of people we hung out with, I guess. And then there was a llama. No, llama? Yeah. A llama came running through our property one time, but turns out this is where I live now, and he was apparently in the area he lived and had gotten loose. So
He didn't wrestle?
no, did not wrestling. Just saw him from a distance.
Yeah. Well, I think the words of wisdom for the night are don't wrestle bears.
Really, I think that's good. So I was thinking about this, and I think a man should be able to beat a bear, a well-trained man.
Because you should be able to be a bear. And this is like a 400 or 500 pound bear.
Right, but the fact that he's trained in wrestling makes me reconsider this. But we see cases all the time where the little guy can, take advantage of the bigger guy.
Right.
And I would think generally a bear, while very strong and very heavy, wouldn't have a lot of fighting skills. And if you were a well-trained, martial arts kind of fighter, I'm not, but I would think those guys would have a chance against a bear.
We would. All we need is a bear now.
We need a bear and somebody to test this theory.
We can find that. We
could go to Grandfather Mountain.
Right.
See if we could break in and wrestle a bear.
There's more bears around these days. There was one over in Kernersville recently.
Yep, there's my parents experience bears regularly on their property up in the mountains.
I knew a guy who one time his nickname was Bull.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because he was a big guy. Like this was a guy I think could wrestle a bear. He was a big guy. And I thought his name was Bull because he was big. But it turns out his nickname was Bull because he was riding a motorcycle one time and hit a bull and killed the bull.
Really?
Yeah.
On his motorcycle?
Yeah. He was okay. The bull
I
died.
bet the bike was not in good shape.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how Bull got his nickname.
So, I've this year started beekeeping.
Yes.
And I have wanted to keep bees, and where my desire to be a beekeeper started was when I was about 15, in the presence of a man known locally as Bear Hunting Johnny. And he was a guy up in the mountains, an older guy, and he had hunted bears. And anyway, that was his nickname. And he did not paint a very glamorous picture of the bear hunting occupation as far as...
Really?
Yeah, apparently apparently bears will eat anything, and so therefore can the meat is, it's not like grass-fed beef.
Right.
They'll eat garbage and any manner of stuff. So you've got to be kind of, the meat is not always as tasty as you might want.
Well, that kind of put me off bear now.
I know. I don't know if
I don't think I've ever eaten bear.
I have not.
I think they're kind of greasy. Also,
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known people that have shot bears.
I do too, actually.
Yeah.
So maybe the same people.
Maybe. And then when I was up at Chowan, I went to school at Chowan.
Right. Learning chemistry.
Learning chemistry. The guys would go out to the dump and bait bears with honey, and like get them. And then so the thing was, if people that were drunk enough would put honey on them and let the bears lick it off of them. I never went out and saw that. I only heard about it. So I cannot confirm that actually happened, but I was told that was what people would do.
It certainly makes a good story.
It makes a good story, and I can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's great.
That's usually what happens. Somebody says, "Hey, y'all, watch this." Right before.
Well, one of my favorite lines is the worst choices sometimes make the best stories. So that sounds like a case in point.
I think so. Well, I think we have come to the end of another That Don't Sound Right.
I think you're right.
Did you have any other comments to add? You found anything interesting beside the road recently?
No, I've passed some things by because of the speed and danger of trying to acquire it,
Right.
and but nothing meaningful lately.
Yeah. Found a screwdriver this morning.
Was it a good one?
I can't tell. It was covered in mud.
Oh,
I hadn't washed it off yet.
okay.
It almost didn't look like mud. It looked almost like it had been working in a sewer.
Oh, one of those.
So
Okay.
once I got it, I was like, I'm not sure if I want this one.
I actually used my rubber mallet that I found beside the road
Oh, did you?
a few months ago. Yeah, recently. It came in handy at home. Yeah. So.
And we did have someone text in today, listener number 2 actually,
Oh.
Brent, and he texted in that he was testing out the person in the shower.
Well, the way he did it though was sent his son into the shower during a thunderstorm. He did not go himself.
That's true. He did.
True. That don't sound right fashion.
Right. Yeah. So everybody's okay in that experiment.
Yes. Every report came back that no one was.
Nobody got hurt.
No one was injured in the study.
So, well, if we'd love for y'all to follow us, promote us on your social media, buy a T-shirt, buy a beer stein. You've bought a T-shirt. You got a T-shirt.
I got a T-shirt as a Father's Day present, and I bought a coffee mug.
Oh yeah.
Actually, my wife told me to wear my T-shirt tonight.
Oh, yeah. You should have.
Yeah, should have.
Yeah. I have bought some of the T-shirts. They're nice.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, you can give them as gifts.
And I will actually share on social media now that I'm on it.
What'd you join?
Pardon?
What'd you get on?
No, what I'm saying is being on the podcast. Well, I'll share this. I'll share it's self-interest and self-promotion.
Exactly.
Will drive me to do that.
Exactly. So, well, we have come to the end of another That Don't Sound Right. Just want to tell everybody, Peter, we're in your corner. Hope you feel better. The TDSR community is pulling for you. Hope you recover quickly.
Yeah, I'm on the bench here for you, Peter, but nothing can replace you.
And just want everybody to keep talking.
And stay curious.